Chandrayaan-3 is on its way to the moon. What next in its journey? So, to talk on this, I have Dr. T.V. Venkateshwaran, a senior scientist at Vigyan Prasar in New Delhi, with me. And Doctor, thank you for agreeing to join me in
Right.
this quick interview.
Yeah.
My first question to you is it's actually a collective of questions. So, could you explain the significance of the trans-lunar insertion burn and how it slingshot Chandrayaan-3 towards the moon? And what are the critical aspects involved in executing such a maneuver?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's imagine a site where a building is being built. Okay. So they would have made the foundation, and then they will be building the walls. Okay. So somebody will be throwing a brick. The mason will catch it and keep it on the wall, put some cement, and then build the wall. Okay. But suppose if already the building is one floor up. So now you will have to throw the brick very high, right? I mean, so you'll have to give it much more impulse so that the brick will go very high. You would have seen it. I mean, they just throw it and then the fellow catches it and then keeps it there, right? Imagine the building is something like about 2 floors. Normally, they will put a ramp and then carry it. But what you can also do it like a bowler is, turning their arm. You can hold the brick in your hand and then turn it around and then throw it so that you will be able to give much more impulse than just throwing, right? So, what the Chandrayaan was doing until now was like the bowler is having the ball in his hand while the bowler is, turning the hand. Okay, so that was the status. Right now, the ball has left the hand, or you can say that the brick has left the hand. Okay, so and it's on its way up. That's what is exactly the trans-lunar insertion. So, which means that it has left Earth but not reached Moon. So, it is midway. Okay, so it's just going up. You thrown it with such a force that now this craft will go as high as something like about 3 lakh 86,000 kilometer and on. Okay, so which is the height in which the moon is. So you need that mason to catch the brick, right? Suppose the mason fails to crash the bridge, that brick will fall down.
Yeah.
So the same way, when the craft reaches that point, the moon has to come at that and then capture this craft. So that is the next major event that is expected to happen sometime in August 5th. So from now to August 5th, the brick is like just going up, or the craft is just going up toward the moon. That's what it is.
Okay. So my second question is, considering the complex choreography required to precisely aim the spacecraft toward the moon, how was the spacecraft's angle, direction, and orbit orchestrated to ensure a successful, process with the moon and the designated time?
Yeah, it's a very, very complex stuff. I mean, very simply put, for example, when the craft is leaving the Earth, the Earth's gravity is acting on the craft. The moon's gravity is acting on the craft. In addition to this, all other solar system objects will also be acting on the craft. So, if let's say Jupiter or Saturn, huge planets are on this side, they can exert gravitational attraction and then slightly turn the path of the craft. So, even before this event, ISRO scientists would have calculated, would have found out what are the positions of different planets, what kind of impact it can have on the craft's path. They would have worked out all those things. So now what they will do is within the 48 hours of the TLI burn, that is in the next, let's say, the first 2 days, within the first 2 days, they'll be actually tracking the spacecraft very, very precisely. So they'll be able to actually find out what are all the influence of other celestial objects. What is the influence of Sun? What is the influence of Jupiter, and etc. etc. And then see where the craft is actually going. And then they'll be performing what is called as a course correction maneuver. So they'll be slightly adjusting the angle in which the craft is moving in the next 40 hours or so. I mean, before 48 hours of the TLI, within that 48 hours, you'll have to do that. So that's what they'll be doing. So Earth is rotating on its own. right, on its axis. So it means that from Bangalore, where the ISRO is having its deep space antenna, it cannot continuously watch the craft. So the ISRO has come into a kind of understanding with the European Space Agency and NASA. So we will also be using their antennas to track the craft for this 48 hours, and then use that data to precisely calculate what kind of modification is needed, course correction is needed to make it so that when it goes to that point, the moon also comes to the same point at the same time. It has to happen that kind of a very precise time and space. So that calculation and that maneuver will take place now.
Okay, once Chandrayaan-3 reaches the moon's sphere of influence, how will the craft's speed be controlled and reduced to allow it to enter a stable orbit around the moon? And actually, what are the specific steps and maneuvers involved in the process leading up to the planned landing attempt?
This is a very interesting question. I mean, people generally think that only Earth has gravity. No, all objects which have mass have gravity. So that way, the moon also has a very substantial gravity. So there is a point in space. If I draw a straight line between Earth and Moon, okay, if I draw a straight line between Earth and Moon, there is a point in space where the Earth's gravity and the Moon's gravity will be kind of balancing out each other. So beyond that point, we call it as Moon sphere of influence. Up to that point, we call it as Earth sphere of influence. Right now, the craft is still in the Earth sphere of influence. The Moon sphere of influence extends roughly about 60,000 kilometers from Moon towards Earth. Okay, so that point. So once the craft reaches that point, the Moon's gravity will exert acceleration on the craft and then make it move fast. So when it goes near the moon, it will be really very traveling in a very high speed. So you need to reduce the speed. You can't use a brake or things of that kind to reduce the brake, reduce the speed of a spacecraft. So you have to use a rocket in the opposite direction. So currently, the rocket's nozzle is facing the opposite direction of the motion. That's why when you fire, the rocket is able to go front, right? So the spacecraft will be made to do a somersault in space and turn around 180 degree, so that the nozzle will face the direction of. So now, if I fire the rocket, so the rocket exhaust will go on this side. So the impulse will be on this side. So which will reduce the speed of the craft. So you have to reduce the speed of the craft to the correct level so that the moon is able to capture. So this action has to happen sometime around August 5th. That is when the lunar insertion will take place. That is when it will actually get into the hands of moon. Okay, when the craft will actually fall into the lap of that be on that day. That time, the orbit will be very highly elliptic. I mean, the orbit will go as close as 100 kilometers to the surface of Moon and as high as 18,000 kilometers from the surface of. So it will be a very huge elliptical orbit, and slowly and steadily they will reduce that orbit and make it circular, circular with about 100 kilometer altitude from the moon surface. For this, it will take some time. So from August 5th to August 17th, this maneuver will take place. On August 17th, you expect that the craft will go on a circular orbit. Okay, that's when a crucial step will take place, where the propulsion unit and the craft will be separated. So now the lander with the rover on its belly will be on its own. So after that, on August 23rd, we will make the lander land on the moon. Okay. So in between, we'll be doing checks if needed, corrections, and then also load the Chandrayaan lander with the commands, for the proper landing and so on. That's what will be happening around that time. So in a sense, you can say that we arrive a bit early to the moon, so that we'll be able to do proper preparation for landing. That's
Uh,
that's the that's the what is going to roll out in next few days.
Yeah. Thank you for your inputs, Doctor. Viewers, TVV has also written in detail on the same topic. To read that story, please click on the link in the description box, or you can also scan the QR code and it will take you to the story page. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.